I have my parents in socks. I did it. Look.
I know.
Thank you.
He was coming up the steps
Easy.
with his arm around somebody. And yeah.
I was so scared, and I'm just grateful that you literally and figuratively picked me up and didn't love me less because the world hated me at that moment.
And the world didn't hate you. It's those
Vocal minority.
Yes.
It really, really is.
I thought it was so gross when you would like grab her butt or like, no, like, and
Never
then.
happened.
You know, usually when I start things like this, I ask people to turn their cell phones off, and I did ask my dad to do that, but he is still watching golf on his phone.
It's Roy,
Who?
and he's
It's who?
Roy
Rory?
McIlroy, and he's going to win unless he really screws it up.
So are we going to keep the Masters on on while we're doing this? Are you just trying to like make sure everybody knows that you're in charge?
I can just give you this thumbs up if he wins. How about that?
I know, but there's a visual, you know?
Okay.
The
First of
visceral
all,
visual.
The best visual that I have right now is that I have my parents in socks. I did it. Look.
I know.
Thank you. You just didn't want to have to get a pedicure, basically.
Ooh. You wouldn't want
Both
to see
of you.
these.
And what are you drinking, Dad?
It's an elixir. It's a Sauvignon Blanc, is it?
Oh, yeah, you don't even know. We just
Perhaps a
poured it.
Chardonnay?
You
Yeah.
have no idea. We
A
just
little
poured
wine.
it. And Mom,
Just
you're
to
being
loosen up.
boring with the straw, though. It's like you're a TV person.
I have to have yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just want everybody to know this was a fight to get them to sit down and talk to me. And you're literally listening to golf still.
I'm not. Let me turn the...
Oh my gosh. But see, this is cool because like for the first time in my 52 plus years and a half years, I feel like I'm in charge. Yeah?
Kinda are.
Yeah?
Well, you can go with that.
So the answer is no. Okay. Do you know why I wanted you to sit down with me?
Yes.
Why?
Because you're afraid we were going to die before you asked me all the questions you wanted to ask.
That is not true.
So you
Why
can
are
share
being,
this with your brothers.
Why are you being morbid?
I'm not.
No. Okay, Dad, what do you think?
I really haven't thought that much about it. Basically, you want to get us recorded so in the future, your children, your grandchildren can see, those old folks. That's what they
We're
look like.
dead.
That's what they thought.
What'd you say?
Yeah.
When we're dead.
You know
That
what?
was my point.
That is so wrong. What if I wanted to learn more and have deep conversations with you about what you tell me?
That's good. I'm going with that.
We're not talking about, no, listen, you are going to be around for a very long time. And no matter what, if you're not on this earth, you'll be haunting me. Like, no matter what, we know this.
Yes.
So I wanted to have it on tape forever and ever and ever because I think, hey, we hate technology today, but we also love it for things like this.
This is in the family vault, never to be seen.
No,
in
no one will
public.
see this. No.
Okay, good. I trust you.
You know, I've been asking you for, 20 years about slides, because back in the day, it was always about slides,
I've
right?
got 'em.
Have I seen them? Like, I want to see slides, pictures, whatever.
You're
So-
kind of busy, Sage.
Yes, I'm busy. But that's what this is. And it isn't just your great-great-grandchildren. This is for so many people who have been kind enough to follow me for so long, for whatever reason, good or bad. And they know about my relationship with you and how I feel about you. So I wanted to just give people a little bit more of an inside glimpse of why I am the way I am. Like if it's good, then who gets the credit?
He does.
She does.
Yeah, he did.
It's a great combo.
So they are my why. And I have spoken about you all publicly a million times, but we've never been able to do this. I need you to start, though, from the beginning, which is 1970, when you met, right?
Yes.
And once again, they've been given none of these questions. This is a beautiful thing. So I need the two different versions of what happened when you met and where you were. Who wants to go first?
There was a birthday party at my parents' home for me, and they told me, you can have the party at the house, Gary, but you have to buy all the booze, which we did. This was at the end of the month of June 1970, after we graduated from West Point. So all of the crew was there at the house, and I heard the doorbell ring. We're down in the basement. That was the party room. And I heard the doorbell, and like I knew what I had to do. As a host, you go upstairs and you meet the people. So I started upstairs, and my my classmate, Roger Fox, was at the top of the steps with a young lady who I met, named Mona O'Neill. And that began it. And that evening I met her, and we danced a couple times, and I thought she was a nice young lady.
Is that all you thought? Nice, friendly?
Well, she was hot, and
That's
she
nice.
danced well. And I remember what she was wearing too.
What was she wearing?
And her hair was as short as mine is now.
Are you
as
serious?
a
Oh,
flight
that's your flight
attendant
attendant
for
days.
Eastern Airlines. Yeah.
Wait, what was she wearing?
She was wearing these kind of crushed light green velvet pants, and with a chain link belt. And I remember I think it was a white top. That's what I recall. Am I right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you saw her and she's a good dancer.
Yeah, good dancer. And then at the end of the evening, Roger told me, he said, hey, you know the girl I came with? Yeah. She would like to see you again. And so Roger said, I wrote her phone number on the pad next to the phone down in the basement. And I went, oh, okay, good. And so, but we were all kind of in various states of inebriation that night. So
Dad.
I didn't really remember. And it was a few days later when my dad told me, hey, Gary, go downstairs and feed the fish. He had a big aquarium down there. And I went down, fed the fish, and was walking back towards the steps, and there was a phone and this pad. And I kind of looked at it and went, there's something I should do here. And I went and I lifted a couple of pages, and there was the name, Mona O'Neill, and the phone number. And I said, I tried to remember.
Which one is Mona?
And I remembered, and I went, oh yeah, let me give her a call. So that's how it began.
So it was a couple days later, once you sobered up.
A day or no more than a
Okay.
couple of days later.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was what date? Your actual birthday?
29 June, 1970.
29 June 19th. See, that's, you know, if someone's in the military when they say it like that,
Put the
like
number
the
first.
day before the month. Yes. Mom?
Well, that's basically the way it happened. But I had come back from a flight, and I wasn't working, and I was in civilian clothes. And so
The crushed green pants with the chain belt.
Roger was dating my roommate, and so he was taking her. In those days, United Reservations was in the Daily News building in New York. So he was taking her to work. They picked me up, and he said, I don't want to drive all the way to your apartment. Please, I'm going to drop Mary off, and then you come to the party with me. And I was tired. I hadn't been home for a few days, and I didn't want to go. And he said, I really need somebody to read the map in those days,
Yeah,
real maps.
paper map.
And so finally he talked me into it, and yeah, that's how
Okay,
it
so
happened.
when you walked into the house, when did you see him?
He was coming up the steps
Easy.
with his
Easy.
arm around somebody. And yeah,
Oh, isn't that funny how you left that part out?
yeah.
Well, you asked me how I met her, not what was going on.
Okay,
But
so
I saw him, and
what'd she look like?
I don't want to go into that because just in case she ever sees this, because he's still in touch with her.
Excuse
Well,
me?
Facebook stuff, Yeah, just
When's the
Facebook.
last time you we'll talk
No.
later. You don't chat with her, do you?
No.
You're just Facebook friends.
And so,
But you saw him.
I saw him, and I just thought he was so handsome, and he was huge. Couldn't believe how at the time you were like 6'6.5". You were huge. And so we did dance. That's true, but in the middle of the dance, the date was outside and called him outside, and he just left me. Anyway,
I'm dying right now.
so
what? Okay.
but
Go
he
ahead.
was extremely nice.
Yes.
And I really liked him. So
How was his dancing?
it was better than it is now, for sure. No, for sure. I'm
mean,
not
he's got a
sure.
new hip
I'm
and
not sure
knees
if big
and
guys
everything.
can really dance well.
If what?
Big guys can really dance well.
Shaq
I'm not
dances
sure.
well.
He does?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the time, and in 1970, I mean, when you played football at Army, that was 6'6.5" was a massive human being. And would you weigh? About 220?
Barely.
Oh, really?
215, 220, yes.
That is a big man. Yeah. Wait, real quick. See, I'm going to have to keep backtracking. Why were you called outside?
If I remember correctly, someone had lost a contact lens.
This was that night.
Did they have contact?
I'm not sure how you found
were
it.
contact lenses in existence in 1970? So
Boy,
she was
I'm-
mad
I'm
because
feeling like I'm getting hammered.
she
here.
saw you dancing with her. That's what it was, right?
What's the next chapter here?
I don't think it was that. She was
No,
a
this is
beautiful
just
girl.
no, this is not a negative. This is part of the story, right? And so then you're like, wait, I'm having fun with the guy, and then he leaves,
yeah.
and then you came back though, right? Came back, or that you didn't see mom again, and then you just
No,
called
I
her a
didn't
couple
see him.
days later.
They were getting ready to leave,
Okay,
Roger.
I
and,
just love this.
Yeah.
And what did you think when he called you?
Well, he, we hadn't talked a lot, and he just asked me some questions, and then he said, what do you do? And in those days, and please, it was in those days, cadets had a preconceived notion of flight attendants. And so I just I was mumbling. I didn't really want to tell him. And finally I said, I fly for the airlines. He goes, oh. And I went, you're kidding. But I don't know, we decided to meet, and it's hard to remember it all. But we decided to meet.
We decided to meet. I drove into New York City, and we had our first date at Flushing Meadow Park.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
With the big giant
Globe.
Yeah, the sphere. Yeah.
And our first date was we threw the frisbee around the park.
Really? Yeah. Did you eat anywhere?
I don't know.
Normal date stuff.
I think our second date, we went to Mama Leone's. It used to be in New York. It was very big in New York. And we went there, and I will never forget this. We were with a couple classmates and their dates, and very nice. And Dad ordered chicken. And I was sitting there, and I saw him pick up his knife and fork, and he went to cut the chicken, and it flew off the plate. I mean, it was like this, and I was like this, and he never looked down, and he went, and he caught it, and he put it back on his plate. I was so impressed.
Those are those wide receiver, tight end, quick hands.
It was very funny.
Yes.
And then he slipped on sauce on the way out and almost fell out the front door.
Yes.
I remember that, yeah.
And a little piece that I'll throw in, I had ordered shrimp cocktail. And of course you get the lemon slice, and she's sitting across from me. And so I grabbed my lemon slice and squeezed it. And
You know how you're supposed to.
Put your hand around it?
Yes.
yeah. So
I got the lemon.
I really impressed her.
Yes.
Yes.
That was
Right
very
away.
impressive that night.
Right away.
Yeah.
Do you recall being nervous?
I was more nervous to be around, I think, his classmates, and they all knew each other so well. And these were, girlfriends that they had been dating a long time. So I think I was nervous about that, but it was for no reason. They were wonderful.
You mentioned the preconceived notions. There's that about West Point cadets back then too, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like they were rogues, but
I mean, it's a Vietnam era. It's a very different time.
It was the real crazy time had kind of passed, in the 60s. But it was a different time.
Was there ever, I meant to Google this today and I forgot, because it wasn't too many years prior that interracial marriage was made legal, was allowed.
Well, there
right?
were still a lot of states up until very recently that were, it had never changed it on the books. But I think for us, we were so young and so naive, and we didn't really notice a lot. Mm-hmm. And New York was different. We were in New York.
New York.
That was very, very different. And I don't know. We never felt anything then.
Yeah, I never, you're just being you, and you're meeting someone, you want to date them, or you want to dance with them, you want to go out and have a dinner with them. Just went ahead and did it. And that kind of, for me, was kind of a no-brainer because of my background. My family, my mom and dad and sister and brother, and the way we had grown up in the service, where all that kind of stuff, at least our experience, it didn't matter. It's just, what you could do, what you should do, and what you did. Mm-hmm. So I never really thought that someone would not like a decision that I made.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, and we were fun.
Oh, yeah. And I could dance.
That's a subjective thing, is what you're saying. I've always said, as your kid, as an Army kid, a military brat, that the military is such an incredible upbringing for me, but it's the most diverse, sheltered world that you could ever be a part of. Within the walls in the military, it's very, very diverse. And I remember, of course, a generation later, but it's just seeing so many mixed marriages and mixed race kids. We're all it's one big melting pot, like a rainbow. But it's very acceptable within those confines. And then when you get out of the military bubble, again, years later for me, it was different. And that was the first time you felt like, wait a minute, is this not, it's normal where I grew up.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was accepted or acceptable in the military. I was born in 1946, and in 1949, our family was posted to Germany. So from 49 to 53, we were in the post-war Germany, and I remember some stories that my mother told about being in German villages and some things that were said and were implied. As a child, my sister, my brother, and me, we didn't, to my recollection, and I've talked to my brother about this too, we didn't really experience any negative things coming up, elementary school, etc., because you're just a bunch of kids thrown in, DOD, Department of Defense schools abroad, and you just were kids getting educated. And coming back to the States, it was a little bit different. We went to Fort Dix, New Jersey, again, a military base, and the housing was, I hate to say the word, integrated, but it was, everybody was everybody. And there were no issues there that I could see as a kid. Now, I'm sure that mom and dad dealt with some issues at their level. But really all through, then we went to Japan and Okinawa, military environment. Came back to the States, and it wasn't until I hit high school that I really had a sense of that people really wanted to make a difference.
Yeah.
And so, you learn to deal with it. And then going to West Point, a military environment, and for me at least, and my brother Mike too, we've talked about this, our time there, we never really had any negative experiences from a racial perspective. People may have thought and may have acted behind the scenes differently, but to us, no.
Yeah.
It didn't occur.
Yeah.
I do think that the thing is the military didn't accept that, but people are still come from different areas. So I think I probably saw it more, but
Yeah.
the military didn't accept it, so it wasn't normally really overt. Once in a while it would be, but again, we were just like, we just kind of didn't care.
You're young and in love, and
Young and
we didn't-
love.
yeah, we didn't care.
And I had a job, and Mona had a job initially. She was still flying, and
we had lots
and then
of
all
friends.
of a sudden we had kids.
And but we
How'd
had
that happen?
we never not had friends. I always,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So
And this is why it's so cool, like with such unique backgrounds that you guys were able to find each other. Because your upbringing was completely different. Small town, West Springfield, Massachusetts. Like you were born and raised there and went to elementary, junior high, high school with all
Yeah.
the same kids, which is the opposite, of course, of what we ended up doing and what Dad ended up doing. How would you describe your upbringing?
well, I loved it. We still, when we go back, I still, I don't keep in touch with, grammar school or high school friends, but the kids in the neighborhood, we're all in our mid-70s. And I mean, it was great. Now, if you're asking about anything race-wise, I think we had one African-American kid in the town.
In the town? Wow.
And that was it. So I didn't really have any exposure to discrimination or anything like that. So, and then, like I said, when you move to New York, that's a different ballgame. Everybody's there. And in our town, I'm half Irish, half Italian. You were Irish, Italian, or Polish, and you were always Catholic, So, it was a pretty sheltered town.
And you lived, and you went to Catholic school. It was the
Yes, yeah.
nuns, it was the
Oh,
crack,
yeah.
the
Yeah,
ruler
yeah.
on your knuckles type.
Yeah, oh, definitely. But it was, you grow up where you grow up. You don't kind of know any differently. I mean, would I have wanted to stay? No. And I think we've had a really good life. But I like being from there.
Well, that's where your roots are.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing, one of the things that I've always loved, and it was comforting to me not having a place to really call home, one place.
Yes.
And I'm okay with that. It's not like, woe is me. I love the way you brought us up. But to go back to visit your hometown, and your parents' house is lived in by one of your younger brothers, and your grandparents' house is lived in by your other brother.
Yes.
And so you can go home
Yes,
and
it is fun.
everything comes back.
Yeah.
Dorothy used to live next door. Auntie Jeanette, Auntie Joya, Auntie Gloria, we're
Yeah.
all on the same block or two.
Yeah.
Like, part of me is envious of that. But I mean, based on how you ended up living since then, since you left New York City, when you go back, what's that like?
Well, we just kind of revert to being kids and being ridiculous and all of that. I do love the history there, and I'm very glad that my brothers loved it and wanted to live in the house we grew up in, and my grandparents' house, which was right down the street. But I have to say, I'm really glad that we had the life we did. Very happy about that.
But I love, like, unfortunately, I didn't get to spend much time with your dad in particular. I remember we lived in Belgium when he had a stroke, I think in 1984.
Yeah.
And he was,
84?
Yeah.
yeah. See, how's that?
I know. I'm impressed.
He was gone shortly thereafter.
Yes.
And, but gosh, he worked hard. Blue collar,
Yeah.
right? Describe.
Climb telephone poles.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And in the meantime, your mother, like you are your mother, right?
Ooh, that's a little scary.
What if I say that about, like, I am my mother?
It's probably
Is that
scary.
also scary? It explains a lot. No, it's fine. I own it. But they were such contrasting personalities. And I actually
Yes.
see that with you guys
Yes.
as well, because your dad was quiet and he observed everything. And he worked his tail off and then would come home and, more traditional, I think, family at that time. And your mother, go ahead, tell them her name.
Philomena Lena DiPratola, and she married William Edward O'Neill. So yeah. I remember going to mass on 9:00 on Sundays, and there was always a policeman directing traffic, and he would sing her name.
Really?
He would
Like the
sing-
whole thing?
Yeah, he would say Philomena, and as we were,
How'd it go?
I can't sing, taking a left, and he would sing it. She would just shake her head.
She didn't like it.
She was
Yeah.
embarrassed by the name.
Really?
Yeah,
But wait, Grandpa called her Phyllis, didn't he?
Philly.
Philly.
Yeah, but everybody else called her kind of Phil, and then O'Neill. She liked that better. I think there was, something about being an Italian immigrant, and
Well, she didn't let it stop her
Never.
from anything.
no, she's very talented.
Yeah, and I remember her, and I think she died in 99, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember her always dressing to the nines. Like she cared. She took pride in how she looked, even though they didn't have two nickels to rub together, right?
Well, she would do just jobs. Eastern States Exposition was there, so she would work there. There was a really wonderful clothing store, and she would work there. And she did a lot of different things. She was just very talented at home design, baking, so many things, so many things.
And looked just like Jackie Kennedy.
Exactly like Jackie Kennedy.
Dead ringer. It's crazy.
I
Did
know
you
it's crazy.
feel that then? Did people? I mean, obviously this is after you're out of high school, and
No, when I was in 8th grade, she was, a cafeteria mom, and I didn't like it. Everybody would always say, "Your mom's so beautiful. Your mom looks just like Jackie Kennedy." And it was like, all right, but she did. And when I moved to New York, and she would come to visit, people would always ask her for her autograph.
you're kidding. Did she do it?
Well, one time she did, because this guy wanted her to sign his forehead. It's ridiculous.
Stop.
Yeah, and she signed it, Phyllis O'Neill. But
She signed a Phyllis O'Neill.
yeah, but he wouldn't believe her. He didn't believe that she wasn't.
She wore I mean, I've seen it. You have a lot of her jewelry still, and just those big
Yeah,
fake pearls and the red lips and the hair
she
up.
was great.
Stunning.
Yeah.
One thing you guys have talked about publicly before, and I don't want to dwell on it too much because it's not. It's part of the story, but it is not. It has not defined you at all. What I take from the family, the interpersonal relations with the family, when you guys got engaged and then married, is your strength. That's what I take from it. Where, again, you came from a very different background than Dad, and it was just different. And at the end of the day, it took a while. It took several years. Your parents fell in love with your husband.
Yeah. Took 6 years.
Took a minute.
Yeah.
And what I
But
always
and then they liked him better than they liked me.
I don't know about that.
I was going to say,
They did.
the fact that you said it, not him, I guess I have to believe it. But one thing that I have always taken from that story, where you had a decision to make, you know? Maybe, and I feel like you don't always look at it that way, but you had a decision to make when you knew that your family was hesitant about marrying a Black man, that, oh my gosh, am I going to alienate them if I follow my heart here? Like, what made you move forward and choose a life with Dad when you knew it might risk, you know, what your family thought about?
I didn't feel it was a choice.
You didn't?
I just didn't. And we had a Chaplain Ford, who was the chaplain up at West Point, called me, and he really helped a lot. And it was a very, very tough time, but you know, in the end, they came around, and with the help of my sister and her husband, who was also Army, who was also West Point, and truthfully, it was good. It was really good. I never was so angry that I wasn't going to, you know, talk to him ever again or anything like that. I almost understood a lot of it because of where I came from.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that it was ever a decision. I think I always knew what I was going to do, and there was no
Well, that says a lot about
going back and forth.
But you were always determined. Like, it was always pretty clear what you wanted to do, and it's still that way today. I remember one of my fondest memories with your mother is sitting on the couch with her watching The Price is Right.
Really?
I know. Bob Barker. And Miss America.
Oh, yeah.
And watching that with her. And then 100 years later, for me to be able to host Miss America was insane. And I thought of her on that stage all those years later when I was on the stage hosting it. 60 seconds before I thought of your mom, because that's something I watched with her, and I didn't get nearly enough time with her. But I remember feeling so loved by her and by your father.
She would always tell me, she'd say, Sage is special. Sage is really special.
Not the way Chad says, "Oh, she's special."
Yeah,
like a good special.
Right. Right.
But my point is, we never felt that, and I think it's a bigger picture part of where we are today as a society, where we all come from somewhere, and sometimes it might not feel good to those around you, but there's a reason why people have their own opinions and feelings. It's based on where they came from, and most importantly, people can evolve and people can change.
Right.
And your parents could have stayed, you know, angry or whatever it was. They were just uncomfortable because they'd never been around it, period. And that can go the same way if you're in an Asian culture and an American walks in, or all Black and then a white person. Like, there's actually no difference, but the key is the choice to evolve. And I know that it's not always been obviously a fun topic for you to discuss, but your parents chose to open their minds with the help of Aunt Margie and Uncle Joe and say, wow, look, and then accept us. So I hope you look at it that way too, because I'm mad I didn't get more time with him.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's just, there were so many things. And when I say that, I know people probably don't understand, but that's the way it was.
Yeah.
And I just, like I said, I understood some of it. And I was grateful, although I fought it for a while when they wanted to get together with us. I have to admit,
Yes, I remember.
Yes, and your father's always Mr. Forgive, and so, and it was the right thing.
Do we hold grudges like the best of them, or what?
But I think, and after that, it was pretty good. It was really pretty good.
Your brother, so
Yes.
Mom's the oldest of four, and right after you was Uncle Billy.
Yes,
He walked you down the aisle.
he did.
What was that day like?
Well, all I remember is he said to Dad, "You can't give her back." That's the only thing. And we, I don't know. It's a long aisle at West Point. I do remember that. But he was very, very supportive, and I had friends there that were always very supportive. And one of my roommates, who never wavered. So, because there were people that did.
Patty?
Yeah, there were people that did. And, but I don't remember much about it. I was grateful Billy was there. And, he's just a fun guy. Yeah.
It's so interesting, though, because you were 22 when you got married.
Mm-hmm.
So he was 20.
Billy was 20.
I wonder if there ever was a conversation with your mom and dad.
I'm sure.
Like don't
sure.
do it, or did he, because he's a strong personality
sure.
too.
I'm sure. He also shared with us at the beginning when we were living in Panama, and Dad would write my mom and Dad just to let us know let them know what was going on, and the letters would come, and they would Billy sit on the kitchen table, and then he'd come home and he would read them, and then he would catch my mother sneaking reading them. So she did read them. And
but didn't you think those letters were a waste of time?
yes, I always said to Dad, why do you do this? But he was determined, and just what he did.
Yeah. Why did you write letters to her parents who, up to that point had shunned you, but you guys?
I didn't want them to think that I was doing anything untoward to their daughter or with their daughter.
Taking care of me.
I felt it was important that they know that she is okay. And hey, this guy took her away to a foreign country. Panama? Where is that? And so it was important for them to know. So I gave them, regular updates.
What would you say?
Along with my parents too.
Just what went on.
What would I say? Well, hey, Mona's doing well. She's about 6 months pregnant, or then after you were born, we went over to the Atlantic side of the Isthmus of Panama, and and we met this, and we did this party, that party, just kind of everyday stuff. So they knew that
Every day.
she was okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was. Who wouldn't do that? Just.
I could see people who would. You're like me. I could see people who wouldn't if you felt, first of all, hurt. And you weren't hurt for you.
Well,
you were hurt for your wife.
I was hurt for Mona, but I was hurt for me because what's wrong with me? I couldn't sense that there was something wrong with me, where they wouldn't have accepted me, again, based upon where I came from. But, you go through that, you get past it. It's like so many things in life. There's a hurdle. You can trip over the hurdle, or you can clear the hurdle and go to the next one. And that's kind of what we've done for 53, almost 54 years.
That's a long time.
Oh, gosh, that's a long. Feels like 5 or 6.
Right. What, you said it was 6 years, Mom? 6, 7 years?
6 years.
6
Yeah,
years.
what was the turning point?
Well, Margie and Joe were
Margie's her younger sister.
Yes, they were stationed at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. What do we call that? Fort Lost in the
Lost
Woods.
in the
Boy,
Woods.
that was a. And it was Thanksgiving, so they invited my parents and they invited us. I think that's when I
we
had
were
to
in
make
Indiana.
a decision. Yeah, we lived
So
in
Fort
Indiana.
Benjamin Harrison.
it wasn't very
Yeah.
far of a
Yeah.
drive for us.
But I had to be talked into it. So
By Margie?
no, we had great neighbors and that talked to me, and then
Dave,
Dad was
Vine
like,
Dave.
you're going to be sorry, so you have to forgive, all of that. So we went, and it was awkward. It was really awkward, but
How long had it been
it was
since you'd seen
very
them?
fon.
Well, since before the wedding.
Yeah.
So you never even saw them
No,
from
no,
before the
no.
wedding to, so then this is 1977?
Yes, it was.
Thanksgiving 77?
Yes.
Yeah. And so you had to be talked in. You walked in, and what happened?
Well, the first thing my mother said was, "Mona, you look so well." It's like thinking, well, how am I supposed to look? But I mean, and it was good because we had Chad by then, and so you know, she liked the kids. I think, and Joe and Margie, I know, were very, very nervous, and it was such a kind thing to do. It really was. And obviously, they didn't really have to talk my parents into it, so they were ready. They were ready.
So it was almost like of the four people, you were the one that...
Yeah, I started, I think, you know, at the beginning, it wasn't, like I said, I understood some, but after a while, then I didn't. And probably after we had you and Chad, then I did. I was getting a little angry. But I'm glad Dad, you know, talked me into it. And Margie and Joe were very, very kind to do that. Very.
I remember as we approached the Thanksgiving table, Margie had this arranged seating, and I was here, and Mrs. O'Neill was to my left.
You didn't call her that, did you?
No.
Okay.
Well, that night I did. But we were about to take our seats, and either Joe or Margie said, in the Miller household, we hold hands when we say grace. And I went, oh my gosh, this is the moment. And so I put my hand out like this, and Phyllis put her hand in my hand. And, you know, it was a beautiful moment because I knew that she had made the transition.
You know, the other thing is, I don't think Dad's parents were so happy about this marriage. They just trusted Dad more. And really, because, you know, they questioned him. And I don't think I was even close to their third pick. But they just trusted Dad. And I always have appreciated that.
They asked me, basically, do you love her? Are you sure? Those kind of, and yeah.
Do you know what you're doing?
And so then we just, that was it. And full support.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So that was always...
It's so interesting because maybe they felt the exact same way.
They did.
Just, you said it could be that simple of a difference is trust.
I'm sure they felt that way.
Yeah. Do you think they did?
Do I think they felt what?
Uncomfortable with you marrying a white woman, just as Mom's parents?
No, I don't think so.
Or uncomfortable marrying Mom in particular?
No, I don't think so. I mean, felt bad about it or uncomfortable? I don't think so.
Well, why do you think they were hesitant?
I don't recall them being hesitant.
Or Mom, you were saying that maybe they weren't thrilled. Like, I want to make sure I understand that properly.
Well, I'm just saying that they trusted your dad and his decision making. They did ask, are you sure? And basically, do you know what you're doing? But it would have been easier. I'm sure we all want our kids to have kind of an easy life. And so I think they just thought it would be much easier.
Yeah, you can look at that. And you know,
it's true.
If you get a piece of paper and you write down the pluses and minuses and et cetera and so forth, and you go, you know. But then at the end of the day, you know, where do you go? You go with love. And, you know, that's where it was.
So Thanksgiving Day, 1977, was like a real turning point. I mean, I felt like as you were saying that, you got choked up a little bit, maybe going back to when she put her hand.
Because I don't often think of myself. At that moment, I was thinking more of her. And for her to, because of the previous 6 years, what she had decided to do during those 6 years, and then we come to the moment, and for her to make that decision, new decision now, to erase those 6 years by putting her hand, that is what an unbelievable decision for her. And I respected her feelings during the time frame. And then when she didn't want Mona to marry me, I respected her feelings. Those are her feelings. I can't change that. But I knew over time, I knew I'd wear her down with those letters, just keep giving her more information, so she couldn't hate me.
Oh no, it was never.
And
that.
so when that happened, and really from that time on, the relationship grew, and it's that way with
It is.
people around the world. Desiree, I'm not talking about just with you meet people, you get to know them. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to meet folks, and then you go, oh, well, I never thought about it that way. And things grow from there.
It's also so interesting, though. We talked about this and how people can evolve and change, right? But also, and you reminded me of this many times. You said you thought, gosh, what's wrong with me? It was never you.
Right.
It was something within her. And we all have, every single person, we all have prejudices. Maybe it's not as obvious, but we have things, and that's part of being human and trying to be better. But to realize that it wasn't you. How many times did you tell me that, Mom, when so-and-so fill in the blank coworker would say something rude or something on air that you would be watching? You're like, I'm like, Mom, why don't they like me? I try. You're like, that is not about you.
It's not about you.
But you had to learn it in a much, more emotional way, if nothing else, because not only was it personal for you, but you're a man. You wanted to protect her and make sure she didn't feel a certain way.
Yeah. I can think through, as you said that, Sage. I started going through my file to think, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. And that's really is neither here nor there because we survived those challenges. But yeah.
I just feel like your decisions you didn't know it at the time, but by staying together, staying strong, supporting each other in whichever way, of course, you're moving to different states and countries too. Like, did you realize at that time you were really building up strength within your marriage by kind of going alone? You even mentioned some friends who didn't stand by your side. Did you realize at the time how this was helping you?
No, we're just living our lives. We're trying to raise our kids, and we were
with no money and just keep.
And
Not
we
a lot
knew
of
it
money.
was the two of us. It was us.
We never.
And,
yeah.
and then the third, and then the fourth, and the fifth Steele member. But it was we were just blessed. I often think, how did I think you mentioned it earlier, Sage. How did I end up meeting Mona that night? And why did Mary had to work, and so therefore Roger needed somebody to come. All of those things, coming together, and then we get married and we live our lives, and then you go from assignment to assignment, friends to friends, and et cetera and so forth, and then all of a sudden you end up and you go, 53 years?
Yeah.
How'd that happen? Because it doesn't feel like that at all. It's just, I'm just feeling pretty good right now. And it's not the wine. We're blessed. We're blessed. We're very,
at
very
one
lucky.
point, I asked you, and I wanted to confirm, Dad, you were in the military for 23 years.
23 years, 2
Mom.
months, and 28 days.
Okay, to the minute.
Yeah.
23 years, Mom, how many different homes?
Oh, a lot. In the teens, In some locations, you had two
moves.
Two moves in
you
the
moved
same.
in to one, and then you moved to another one.
So what's the number?
Well, I think now, since we've moved to Florida, it's our 20th. So I would say it was
16.
18, 17
'cause
or 18.
Connecticut to
17. or
your first move non-military.
17
17 moves in 17 homes.
Yeah, homes.
Moves
homes.
in 23 years. Do you do you ever look back? Because when you're in it, you're in it. It's part of the life.
Yes.
You have no choice. It's next. Do you think back on that though sometimes? And especially because you're at work and you're working your butt off. You even started to work full-time and part-time jobs when we got a little bit older. But to do that and be constantly moving and uprooting not just yourselves, but your kids. That's a lot, Mom.
But everybody around us was doing the same thing. I mean, we weren't doing anything special. Everybody was, and there was an excitement in it, especially because we got to live in some really wonderful places. And we would, when Dad would get orders, we'd spin like a globe or something if we were going overseas, and we'd say, see right there, that's where we're going, and try to get everybody excited. And it was always exciting. We never not were excited, right?
Always excited. Sometimes, ooh, why did they post me here?
Yeah.
But again,
We never heard that.
so often,
No.
a particular posting ended up in the greater scheme of things to be to
Yes.
the betterment of the family.
Sometimes when you questioned it, and
Yeah.
then, seriously, months later, whatever, you'd say, oh, okay,
That's
now
why.
now we get this. So, but it was a good life. There were good people in the military. We lived in great places. You kids always adjusted well. I'm very grateful.
One thing I remember is every time we moved, you also made it fun because you said, okay, you get to pick out your comforter. Like you get a new comforter on your bed.
I don't remember that.
New
The little
colors.
things.
Yeah, new colors in your room. Paint on the wall, or I think one time I got wallpaper. Big pink and green flowers in Belgium. Or did you have a choice? That was
I think that was
interesting.
I think that was
wallpaper.
there, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause we
it was a
never
brand
would
new
have
house,
chosen.
right? Right.
It was very 80s, yes.
Yeah.
But you made an effort to make sure that our bedrooms were one of, if not the first thing that you would complete with a move. So then, well, you say why?
Well, because then it was familiar, then it was home. So we just tried to get the bedrooms done, your bedrooms done first, so you would automatically feel at home no matter where we were, because everything was so familiar. So, yeah.
So everything else was brand new. We're trying to make new friends. You're trying to get the living room, and if there was a family room, and the kitchen together. But I remember feeling like this was my little escape when everything else was new and kind of scary. And you're trying to make friends. And yes, a lot of kids were military, so they understood it, and they're more welcoming because we know what it's like to be the new kid, But I think it's as I became a mom and moved a handful of times too, I remembered the importance of giving your kids a space
Yes.
to be comfortable. Yeah. And you did it so fast though. Like people talk about moving and people melt down. How the hell did you do everything so smoothly all the time? Or was it not? I was just a blind kid.
I'm sure it wasn't. And we were young.
Well, we were.
It was.
I remember we were in Indianapolis, Indiana, for 6 months for a course.
So you moved your family of 4 into an apartment in Indy. And
Yeah, it was.
It was- it
4.
was- oh, it was
yeah,
4.
It was Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we moved in, and Mona says, "Okay, so right here, I want you to put this. What is those things called? The rattan
Screen. It was some kind of
some
screen.
kind of screen. But boom, boom, boom. I had to have it done in a certain period of time. So I thought, yes, ma'am, and I went ahead and I did it. And every place. Then we went to California, and in the government quarters there on Fort Ord, there was another room divider screen that was put in. Oh yeah, and I wallpapered the entire dining area in the kitchen. Remember that?
Yes.
wait, which
Yeah.
house?
Fort Ord.
In Fort Ord
When
in
I was
Monterey.
at the language school.
Yep.
And and that, I mean, I'm there to learn to speak a foreign language, and I got to
You're
get all
hanging
this
wallpaper.
done. But, you do it and you want to get it done as quickly as possible so I can go on about my business, but more importantly, to get you guys situated nicely.
I think back sometimes, Mom, to the young woman from small town Massachusetts who then is all of a sudden living in Panama and all the other states and Greece and Belgium, and how worldly that was compared to your upbringing. Were you scared? I know you were a flight attendant, which I guess helped you transition into
I don't think I
that
was
change.
ever scared. I mean, I always,
You guys were
I always
teammates.
had Dad.
Yeah.
I do think that it's very, very different today, and I get it. I can remember in Colorado Springs applying for jobs and not getting them because they asked if my husband was military. So they knew we were going to move, and they surely didn't want to hire you. And today, I think a lot of spouses don't move. I also understand it for kids, and I've run into so many people with special needs kids that said we can't just pick up. My child is doing so well right here. So I think it's a very different military and mindset. We had the coffees and the formals and oh my gosh. And we just did it. When we lived in Carlisle, I don't know, maybe it was about 4 years ago, there were some colonels from the War College that we had over for dinner with their wives, and they said, we were talking about all of the military, and they said, what do you mean you had to have coffee? What do you mean you had...
The wives were expected to entertain.
Right. It was a different world, and even before us, it was more so. But I think we were kind of getting to be the last generation of military that really, all of the formals, and it's a different military. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just different.
It is so interesting, though, where you do see that a lot today, where the wife usually will stay back. If you're going to be transferred again, do you remember 1989? Leaving Fort Carson, Colorado, Colorado Springs, as I was going into my senior year of high school. And it was the longest I'd ever lived anywhere in my life. It's a world record, 7th grade through 11th grade. And we were prepared to go after 9th grade. That's a 3-year stint, right? And then they extended you a year. And then
A second year.
you started to have conversations like, listen, my daughter's going to be a senior now or never, right? Like, let's not wait until right before her senior year of high school. And if I recall, they were like, no, we won't do that. And then they did that. And then they're like, hey, Steele, you got to go. And it is the way.
It's the way it fell out.
Correct, yeah. It's just how it is. My point is you guys were so sensitive to that. And my recollection, and I could be wrong, is that you gave me an option
Yes.
to stay back and finish my senior year because I was really shy, right? And I had my horse, and that was like, in hindsight, probably like therapeutic for me. And I was a young senior, I was 16, and you were like, we'll stay. Or was it you were going to stay and you were going to go ahead?
Well, I was going to go, but...
Back to Indianapolis.
Yes, but we were going to leave you with a family.
Yes.
There.
You were going to leave me.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were just going to leave you.
Yeah.
We just...
But they volunteered. They said, hey, you
Who?
want to make
Who
this
were you
right.
going to leave me with?
Can't even remember.
Oh my God, you didn't even know who you were going to leave me with. Just leave her. Like they do babies in a bassinet at a firehouse. It's great. No, really, who were you going to leave me with? I'm just learning this for the first time.
Oh, it may have been Watson's.
Yes.
Oh, the Watsons.
Yes.
Jesselyn Watson and Crandall Watson. They were in
Yes,
the neighborhood.
Crandall,
Yeah.
Yep.
She was a year ahead of me.
We were just really...
You were sensitive
we were
to
very nervous about doing this, and in the end, it was for good reason. It wasn't a great high school that you ended up going
Finale.
to. Yeah, but you made the decision, and
I want to emphasize that. You talked about trust earlier. You left it up to me to decide whether or not I wanted to stay back, finally comfortable, or go with you guys to Indiana. Now, I thought you were volunteering to stay back with me and Courtney because he's 9 years younger. No, again, you were going to dump me. It's fine. So but I think that says so much. Like you trusted me at a young age.
Oh, yeah.
That I wasn't, obviously I was such a goody two shoes. It's so annoying. I wish I had not been as much of a prude. It's too late. But like the fact that you were willing to do that is such a bit, and then I know that I thought about it, and the thought of not being around you guys and my annoying brothers every day was unfathomable. Like I could never have done that, no matter how nice the Watson family, if you believe that's where you were going to send me, no matter how nice they were. Like I couldn't do it. And to me, that says everything about you and the ability through all those years and all those moves to make sure that we felt like a family of 5. Like we were a team. And you guys used to say that no matter where we are in the world, we got each other. And that was profound. I don't think, again, I realized it at the time, but you guys created that environment. Okay, that wasn't a question. That was bad journalism. So we get to Indianapolis, back to Fort Benjamin Harrison for a second tour, and this is 1989 as I'm entering my senior year. And we were stationed at Fort Ben, but couldn't get housing on post the first year. They said, hey, go out and live. Ended up in Carmel, Indiana. And I want to preface this by saying there were wonderful people there.
Yes.
I ended up having some very good friends and for the most part, some good experiences, period.
Yes.
That can exist, as well as my first true experience that was ugly, racist, brutal, and devastating. And it's the first, I would love it if you repeated it, because I think there's a lesson in this for mothers and parents and also kids. But remember what happened?
Well, I remember that you were pushed into a corner by a bunch of boys, called names, told to go back from where you were from
To Africa.
to where you were from. Yeah.
But can I, real quick, this is the first time as a senior in high school I was ever called the N-word.
Yeah.
Ever. In that moment, being backed into a corner by 4 boys who I thought were friends.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that, like, that's the beauty of the military. Like, people didn't talk like that for the most part. It was diverse and it's such an accepting community. And all of a sudden I was out of that bubble, which is what it was.
Yep.
And Carmel was totally
all white.
all white. We didn't know. We wanted a good school for you because it was your senior year, and especially because, and it had a fabulous reputation, and with the help of the Lutzes, we found a good rental, and Dad was taking command the next year, so we had to live on post the next year. So it was for that year, and it was going to be perfect because you'd be graduating, and it just didn't turn out so perfect. Now, like you said, there were really supportive people there. But you got pushed into the corner, and you told me.
And I came home and told you, and you did what?
I just marched over there, Not that it did a lot of good, but it wasn't about that, And I wanted them to know that we're watching, and nothing like that ever could happen again. Although there was a girl who asked you when you were running track where you hid your knife.
Guns.
Oh, gun. I thought
Yeah.
it was a knife, she said. Anyway.
Guns.
It
was I remember being like, what? Guns? We don't have guns. And she, swear to God, she was a great kid, innocently just thought that based on what she had watched and seen on TV, that all Black people had guns. And that I might have kept it under the seat in the car. Like, it was obviously stereotypical and completely a misrepresentation of an entire race culture. but I go back to like with your mother and with other people, like you only know what you've been exposed to.
Right.
And I actually remember at that time viewing it as like an opportunity to
Yes.
say, no, look, we're not all like this or like that or whatever it is. But you walked into the office after those boys backed me into that corner and to talk to the principal. I thought it was,
every mother would do that. Yes.
I would hope, but the problem is he didn't believe me.
No.
He said that I made
Well,
up
I'm
a
sure
story.
he believed you. He said he didn't believe you, but I'm sure he knew it probably happened.
But I remember to say that to us, that I had made it up.
Yeah.
And as a mother, so fast forward years later, when I'm protecting my kid, I went back to that moment. I thought back to that moment because I wanted to choke out Quinn's second grade music teacher a
Right.
few years back.
Right. I remember.
I held myself. But like in that moment, because you're mama bear still and trying to protect me from everything. And that, not only did that happen, but the adults in the room
Right.
literally said I was lying.
Yes.
How did you, and we know you got a temper,
Yeah.
like you're feisty. How did you handle that?
Not well. Not well. Because I just let him have it. Anything ever happened like that again. And he knew. And he knew I knew we knew, you know? It was just a bad experience. And I felt horrible that we had brought you into this situation. But you did have some good friends there,
Yes.
and one teacher in particular who absolutely
German teacher,
loved you. No, it was
Tom Scholler,
Tom Scholler.
Mr.
the
Scholler.
radio,
Yep.
TV.
Yeah.
And he really was. He was wonderful, and he helped you. And there's always somebody to pick you up. There's
Always.
somebody. So it ended up, now what I find kind of interesting, I've met so many people from Carmel High School since then, you know, just out, or we're like at Army games, just all these random places. And they always say, we are so proud of your daughter. And I always
Yeah,
think,
right.
where were you?
Well, and that's another lesson, because not everybody was that way.
Yes.
That German teacher that you mentioned,
Yes.
Agnes Kam was her name. I never took German.
Right.
I was a senior. I didn't know who she was.
Yes.
And right after this incident, I was walking down the hall with my head down. I was
Yeah.
really, it messed me up. It really affected me. And eyes down, no eye contact with anybody. And she pulled me into a room, said, come here for a second. And she looked at me and she said, I heard what happened. And I'm so sorry. But please know this. You are doing more for Carmel High School than we can ever do for you, just by being here and continuing to walk these halls. Don't let this affect you. That was 35 years ago.
Yeah. You still remember.
And I remember it, and it did
Yeah.
change me. And then you look, you know, now you look at the past couple of years, oh my gosh, every single thing prepares you,
Yeah.
does prepare you for it. But
Yeah.
it was a time that I would not trade or change for the world, because it did toughen me up. And you guys did a great job. I now understand that pain a little bit, where you're like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And you didn't do anything. You did what you thought was best at that moment, which is a lesson in parenting, right? We're doing our best
Yeah.
at all times. And in the meantime, you know, you're just trying to make ends meet. You're paying rent, like high rent in Carmel.
Well, and you know, in built into a military salary is your housing allowance if you're not living on post. If you live on post, obviously they don't give it to you. But everybody, no matter where we would move, everybody'd say, "Oh, the rent is so cheap, and you're definitely going to be able to have some extra money out of that allowance." It never happened in all
Somehow.
those moves. We're like, how do we always just miss that? But listen, we weren't destitute. We just had to watch our pennies, that's all. And that's good too.
It is. for sure. But I guess I just needed you to know that I felt it in the moment, you know, that you're protecting and looking out for me. But then, you know, it all came back when I had to do it myself. Mm-hmm. And the first time I had to go defend my Quinn, when we lived in Connecticut. It's kind of
always Quinn.
It's kind of
Love you, dear.
She's going to watch this. And why do I have to always fight? The other two, there are times as well, but, you know, she was the first. And I left her school one time after, again, almost choking out that teacher. And I was shaking. And I said to myself, it had to be done. If I don't, who will? And I called you and you were like, you must be your child's advocate. No one else will. And it's uncomfortable and it's scary and you're gonna piss off some administrators and some teachers and whoever it is, yeah. But I feel like I was more prepared for that than I knew because you guys protected me.
And in the end, that principal, who even remembers his name?
Yeah.
I mean.
I do.
Oh.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Only because, you know, sometimes it's sad. You remember the people who hurt you more than the ones who help you.
True.
And that's why I always say, and people at Carmel have gotten mad at me for telling this story.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's like, well, please don't. I had one of the athletic directors who, where was he, superintendent, who was one of my friends at, you know, when I was there, and then he moved up and he's like, why are you telling that story? And I'm like, well, it's part of my story. It is. It doesn't mean there wasn't a ton of primarily really good stuff, you know, but it is part of it. And then you build from it. What are you gonna do? Wallow in it? Like, you know, what do you do? Okay, I'm trying to think. During
We're
that,
not done?
I know. Do you want some more wine, Dad? How are you?
I'm good.
I'm drinking water.
Oh, that's right. It's so boring. It's so boring.
You know, to the point that you made, Sage, about your friend saying, well, why are you repeating this? And there's the old saying, I'm going to screw it up. Those people who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. So, you know, you got to remind people, hey, this happened. And so, oh, yeah, gosh, maybe we better look at this a little bit differently.
And it's not an attempt to garner sympathy or anything like that. It's just kind of, yeah. I'm glad that you said that, because just to remind people, stuff happens even if you don't see it. It happens, and we all need to be a little bit better. And I hear it's great there. It's much better. I think this high school is like up to 7,000 kids now, literally.
Yes, and it's very very
a beautiful
mixed.
area, and it's
Yes.
much more
Yes.
diverse. Yeah. You know, I've been asked so many times about you guys and our relationship because I talk about you a lot, and I want to just jump ahead quickly to, you know,
Jumping ahead, I'm going to have some more wine.
Better not. The last few years where, you know, I started to get a little more, I guess, controversial. I don't know.
A little.
Not intentionally. And I started to get some, you know, hateful comments, et cetera, on social media. And I remember one day you called me. And, I mean, this was 2017. And it was a post that I'd made that was, of course, misconstrued, taken out of context a little bit. I could have been cleaner with my words, but just got crushed. There were probably 5,000 comments on this one Instagram post, and about the airport, the LAX airport comment. Yeah. And Mom, you guys called me, and you're like, are you seeing these comments? And of course I was, and my heart was racing. And you said, Sage, just delete these comments. Just delete them. It's awful. I mean, there were very threatening comments, what they said they wanted to do to my children, what they hoped, like ugly. And you said, delete them. And I understood that because it was like, it's so uncomfortable to read. And I remember, do you remember what I said to you?
I remember you said you weren't going to.
I don't mean to disobey you, Mom, but, and the reason is because I didn't want, I wanted people to make sure and understand that this does happen. And even if you have a difference of opinion or something misunderstood, if I delete those comments, it makes it look like it never happened. And it's just like repeating stories at times. You have to keep it there. It is part of your story. And it's important for others to know that there is ugliness and hatred out there. And then how do you choose to handle it? Do you go silent? Do you get scared and run away from it until, oh my God, I'm never going to talk again? You probably would have appreciated that because I gave you ulcers, I know. And then there's the other side. But as a mother, I think that's the thing. And I've experienced it. And Dad, you have as a father, no matter how old your kid is, they're still your kid.
Correct.
And you want to protect.
Correct.
How did you get through those times? And the last several years where I've had inadvertently a big mouth that's gotten me in trouble and yeah.
Well, you spoke your truth, Sage, and from our perspective, your truth is our truth. We've believed in you and everything that you've said and done wholeheartedly. And the folks that didn't align with you, it's too bad. What did Mom always say? It's not you. They have a problem. I mean, if you think, in my mind, if you look at things objectively and logically, the decisions that you have made over the years, they're all 100% spot on. Yeah, who wouldn't make that decision if you really think it through? But we get caught up in, what do you call it, clickbait. You see this or you hear this or somebody says this, and that's where you go. That's where people go. But that's not really the truth. It's not really.
Yeah. You have every right to say, to feel.
Yeah.
And these are your experiences.
That's true.
And you have every right to say, this is your platform. Somebody doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Why bother to look at anything that you put out there? And you've been very strong about it. I didn't know it was really, it may have been that time. It wasn't that time. It was another time. It was the first time that I experienced anything where, I'm on Instagram posting about my garden, and I get people breaking into my account saying horrible things. That's when I just realized what people will do when they just don't hate.
When they hate.
Thank you. What extremes they'll go to. And those are the people you never want to know anyway.
Yeah.
Those are not people that you ever want to be around anyway. But you were always stronger than, I was. Sometimes I'd write something.
I know. I did
but
have
I
to
don't
say, Mom,
anymore.
Don't respond.
Yeah, I haven't in a
All of a sudden
long time.
I'll see Mona Steele commented on, and I'll be like, hey, Mom, put down the phone.
I know. But I think I've
definitely, so good.
I've definitely learned. Plus, sometimes it makes me laugh. Like, they can't spell. They can't put two sentences together, and you're like, somebody's going to pay attention to that. So
it's to consider the source thing, which does make it easier to deal with. But I do understand, as a mother and a father that must have crushed you in many ways, and you want to go fight people.
Oh, yeah.
I talk about fighting and choking people a lot. I don't know what that says about me.
Yeah, you have some repressed urges.
I think so. But I also, that those are my only hesitation with what I have said and stood up for, is that it has affected my kids at times. And they were young, and teachers and parents and coaches would say things to my kids about their mother. And I made it very clear, you don't have to defend me. You tell them. If they have an issue, come to me.
Yes.
And I would tell my kids to say, remember, diversity of thought is what's most important. And if you want to talk to my mom, here's her number. No one ever called, of course. But I did
Because
have.
these cowards would rather tell a child.
You're right. And they know that they were fearful, just like I was for many, many decades. But that gave me pause quite often, as did the effect it had on you. And, you know, I know eventually you came around and were like, okay, I get it. And she knows now what she wants to say and why. But I did feel bad about that, because you never want to affect people that you love, even though it's not like I committed a crime. I was right, but that's how you're made to feel. And yes. I did feel bad that I was causing so much worry. Dad, she doesn't even sleep well when nothing's going on. She would be sleepless because of me, right? At times. True. Not because of me, but because of what was happening surrounding me, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking, Sage, where did you, I'm setting this up obviously, but where did you draw your strength from? Where did you draw your strength to be able to say those things? Because I imagine you had to feel, well, I've got somebody backing me, somebody who believes in me. And of course, I'm looking for a pat on the back. But I imagine did you feel that you had our support?
Total support.
Voila.
Yes, and still felt bad that I was worrying you so much, because I know you were worried. But then I think as you uplifted me and didn't tell me to be quiet ever, I was like, okay, I would listen to them if they did. I think I would have listened. No, I think I would have at least I would have listened. I don't know if I would have fully changed my behavior. I would have listened. But by you encouraging me to stand tall, every time something happened, I realized, okay, I'm still standing after that one. Like, I'm not going to back down. And it's certainly not who I was as a younger woman, even. No. I hid from everybody. So your strength and belief in me allowed me to continue. And, we don't have to go deep into all the things that happened and the multiple cancellations that I've had. But I always do tell people, I speak about fear a lot because I lived in it. And every time, in so many ways, personally too, right? But every time you push through something,
right,
you wake up the next morning.
Mm-hmm. Right. And
then you're like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Because I'm still here after that, and you build more and more strength. When I got suspended, the big dog at ESPN, like the big thing that changed my life, for my thoughts on the vaccine mandate, and being adamant that no one tells me to identify a certain way. I am biracial. I am half black and half white, equal both, and loved by both sides of my family. And I refuse to be put in that box, and that was a problem for people. When I'm pulled off the air, you guys, and this is, coming off COVID, in COVID still, you guys drove up from Pennsylvania, and I was in Connecticut, and literally pulled me off the floor. I was on the ground after one article in particular that came out that someone had made up lies just to be part of the story.
Right.
And yes, I was on the ground, and I was like, I can't do this. Recently divorced. Everything was at the same time. And it was like I was 8 years old again.
But what happened, Sage?
Yeah.
You stood
Picked
up.
yourself up.
No, but you physically lifted. You guys pulled me up off the ground because I was like, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. Never mind. I'll take it all back. And I was so scared. And I don't know, I'm just grateful that you literally and figuratively picked me up and didn't love me less because the world hated me at that moment.
And your faith too. And the world didn't hate you. It's those vocal
minority.
Yes.
It really, really is. How many days have we been here? We got here yesterday. How many people have stopped you?
I know.
How many people have said thank you and all of that?
Right, absolutely.
I've been surprised.
But you guys did in that moment. And I think it's just a lesson, and for parents out there, no matter how old your kids are, they're still going to need you.
Oh,
and
yeah.
even if you disagree with what your kids are doing, and you guys actually agreed with most of it, even if you disagree, to support them if it's something they believe in strongly. And that's what I hope people take from that as parents, that you got to support your kid, and that can change your life. Because if you had not, I would not have pushed forward. When they allowed me back to work eventually, you guys had stayed, and you remember that day?
Yes, yes.
I was sick to my stomach.
Absolutely.
I hadn't eaten in a couple days. My bosses and some producers had told me how mad everyone was at me, my teammates, my coworkers, and that I need to call people and apologize before I come back. And I was scared, so I did it. And I had lost weight, like it was a mess. And remember, while I was suspended, I got COVID so bad after taking the shot that they forced me to take to keep my job that was supposed to prevent it. Like it was all,
Exactly.
it was all at once. It was a disaster. And I was with you guys and Tiffany, my bestie and the makeup artist extraordinaire, who had a lot to fix that day before I walked into Sports Center. And I'm walking out the door to drive to ESPN campus. And I was so scared. And what did you do, Dad?
I said, before you go, let's say a prayer together.
And then you said, huddle up.
Huddle
because
up.
we have to have football analogies with everything.
Huddle up.
Yeah. And I'm going to, and we said the St. Michael prayer. And it goes, we can say it together. St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly hosts, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all of the evil spirits who prowl around the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen.
Amen.
And I thought so many times of all of the souls who are out there who were being so negative about the situation, about you, etc., and so forth. And you needed a defense. And for me, that was the perfect prayer. And as you've said, every day.
11:45.
You said that with us before you went on the air.
Every single
And we
day.
knew that day it was going to be
We'd
good.
say, protection.
Yeah.
And that's
had
what
the
it
protection.
was. I would pull into the parking lot at ESPN, say nice to or say hi to all the nice, wonderful, kind security guards when I would drive in. Many of them would give me a thumbs up and say, thank you for standing up. And that encouraged me too when I'd get in the parking lot and I'd putting my mascara on at the last second, and we would say the prayer. And I can honestly say I knew every single day that I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I envisioned this bubble, that I was in a protective bubble. And I would pray as I was walking into the doors after we hung up, that only good energy, good vibes would be allowed in, and that I was strong enough to only give out good energy as well, and not let the hurt come through in a negative way potentially. And that was from the moment I got back from suspension to the day I settled with ESPN and Disney with 22 months. I've said it 100 times quietly to myself, and I guess more recently publicly, I've never done better work. I never felt better about the job that I did as a SportsCenter anchor and the job that I loved as I did during while I'm in the middle of an active lawsuit against the company that I work for, against Disney. And crazy, I look back on that, but for 22 months, we said that prayer every day, and that's the reason why. That's the reason why I was completely protected. And you guys provided me that strength. And I'm like, well, how did they do that? And that goes back to the strength that you were building.
All the way back.
All those years too,
way
through
back.
your family, through not having support from your families when you always wanted it too. So then it was like, well, you're damn right I'm going to support her. You're damn right I'm going to provide her that strength, even if it scared you. And I know it scared you. I know it scared you at times to watch me walk in there
Oh.
And then what would happen? Then you'd watch. Then you'd watch on
Oh,
TV.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd be like, well, she wiped her tears.
I've said to anybody who knows what you were going through every single day, I called them the Vipers at ESPN, and also the lawsuit. Everybody would say,
Thank you.
she was going through all that. I never, ever,
Yeah.
ever would have guessed. Everybody always says that.
It's because of you. And this story is actually not about me and oh my God, it was so hard at that time. It's about the strength and the influence a parent can provide, no matter what their kid is going through.
Thanks.
Mine just happened to be public. And that's the only difference. And I just hope that, other young parents, whatever, can realize the impact that they can have. And you guys saved me. You guys saved me during that time. I think that your marriage as a whole has inspired, I know this, has inspired me, has inspired Chad and Courtney. And, 54 years is what it's going to be in October.
Well, Sage, we think Mom's going to have to up her game over these last few months to get to October.
Excuse me? Up her game? She's not even making eye contact with you right now. She knows that you're so... He thinks he's funny, Mom.
I know.
I am.
I know.
What exactly does she need to work on between now and October?
Well, we don't have enough time. I've got a list.
Yeah.
And
My Eggs Benedict.
when have you ever made Eggs Benedict?
I made them once.
What year?
I can't remember. But
That's all you get.
I mean, every single morning for how many years are my Eggs Benedict ready? Are they ready?
He says it every morning.
Every morning.
And you're like, here's your
Every morning. I just
Cheerios,
ignore
enjoy.
it. Now
Yeah.
I just ignore it. No.
But when you look through all these years, and that's the thing, it's not just maintaining your own marriage, it's, gosh, supporting your kids, even when your kids are grown-ass adults. Sorry.
Listen, there are people that there's the struggles today with so many couples. So truly, part of it is, most of it, obviously, is we've been very blessed. We're very lucky. And we just kind of grew together. We were young and we just kind of grew together. So it's not this magical relationship. It's just two people who we were committed, and truthfully, we kind of had a lot of fun. So
Had past tense, so you're not having fun anymore?
Like I said, she's got. No, I would agree with Mom. I think we were young, and we felt a certain way about each other, and then we developed this real strong commitment to each other because we were on an island by ourselves. And but it wasn't for me, it wasn't expecting, well, I give 50% and I need 50% back. It was never that. It was just that I needed to the best of my understanding at that time frame in my life, I needed to take care of her. And then maybe it was just taking care of each other and thinking about each other and sharing with each other and getting mad at each other, and loving each other and just living with each other that helps you grow through that. That plus faith. Faith in God.
Your faith has grown so much, though, the past, even 5-10 years I've seen it.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
You're nothing unless you have faith. And that has grown in me over time.
One thing that I always was so annoyed with when I was young was
You were annoyed?
yeah, I thought it was so gross when you would like grab her butt or like no, like and
Never
then
happened.
no, yeah, like in the kitchen. I mean, it was cute and like
Okay,
And-
get the wine.
no, I'm a light. I haven't had no, but and then or just kiss her or hug her. You know, when you're young kids and you're like, ew. I mean, I know now how important that is. You know, like those little things matter.
Well, I agree, Sage. And sometimes in the morning, Mom will be down before me, or
Look,
down
she looks
before
scared.
her.
Go ahead.
Yeah, where's he going with this? You know, she'll turn in the kitchen, and I'm there, and I'll just say, "Come on, let's hug it out."
Yeah.
And we just hug right there, because that's, for me, that's so meaningful, and I need that. And I think we share that back and forth with each other.
Do you know the 5 love languages? They're like, what the heck? Okay, acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation, gift giving, and quality time. You never heard that? How have you been married almost 54 years and you don't know the 5 love languages? No.
5 love languages. I was thinking French, Spanish.
Yes, that would have been our definition.
Yeah. But I feel like you guys have a great combination of those things. Who needs words of affirmation?
Both of us.
Yeah, I think we both.
Yeah. Because Mom is perhaps questioning herself about something, and hopefully I give her the appropriate affirmation about that, and I question myself too.
Gift giving?
Gift giving, well, she could do more.
Mom, do you know that ever since I can remember, he's like, hey, Christmas is tomorrow.
The worst.
What should we get Mom? I'm like,
giver.
for God's sake, Dad, it's Christmas Eve. We
worst.
go to the mall, you take all 3 kids
The
hand
worst.
in hand to the mall on Christmas
worst.
Eve. Yeah, we tried.
You know that first we're
kind of loosening up here, aren't we?
You don't like this.
we just had gotten to West Point, and
Oh, my God.
you
I'd been on a recruiting trip.
he had been on a recruit, and so he gave me a
2 things.
vacuum cleaner.
No.
And
A vacuum cleaner?
No.
it wasn't a vacuum.
No.
He gave me a toaster. That was a big thing. And he was so excited because it was for 4 slices, and we always got company, you know.
And
I-
the other thing was
Wait, you went all out with the
an electric
four-slice
can
toaster.
opener. Well, I looked at this toaster. I was so upset
She started
because
crying.
Mingy Morgan had come over. You know, it was little quarters. She had come over, and Rod got her jewelry. You know, and I get a toaster, 4 slices, and Gary thought, and so I was really upset. And he picked up the toaster.
No, you said, I wanted something personal.
Oh, yeah. And he picked up the toaster and he walked out. He was walking out the door. I said, where are you going? And he said, personal. And then he said a bad word. And then he said, I'm going to get it engraved.
The toaster engraved?
Yeah. She wants personal?
That's awful.
Yeah.
Tell me you didn't do that.
No, I didn't go and get it engraved. Because we started laughing.
Did you upgrade
We
the gift?
started laughing.
Did you upgrade the gift?
No.
No. But it was a very, very funny Christmas.
Okay,
That was
funny
the Christmas
now.
that you got your kitchen set.
Oh, with you made
That I
me.
made,
Yes.
The stove and the
Yeah.
sink that was the rubber
And the
thing that sits in it.
refrigerator.
Yep.
Yes, so cool. Okay, physical touch. That was one of the 5 love
That's-
languages.
Yeah. But you mean who? Both
Like-
of us.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're both like that.
I feel like you're definitely needier in that way, and it's a beautiful thing. Yeah?
Physical touch is everything.
Yeah, yeah. And I say that, like, seriously, you guys, you were holding hands through half of this. Do you think that's grown through the years?
No, I think it's always
You've
been
always
there.
had that?
I
I think so.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And quality time.
You don't think about it.
Well, you think about it sometimes when you don't have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess you guys are blessed that you've always had it, and you've made sure of that.
Yes, I was like, leave me alone.
And now, don't touch me. And now quality time too, where you're not very good apart. And I feel like you used to be. You had to be. There was travel. There were kids. There was chaos. And
We're terrible apart now.
yeah, explain that.
I have no idea. We just, like, Dad was getting ready to go someplace. And I said, I really, really don't want you to go. He said, I really don't want to go. So he didn't go.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Why do you think it? Sometimes I wonder if it's, and I love saying it, is it because, it's documented, you've had health issues over the last 14 years, 2 kinds of cancer. We always are quite competitive in the Steele household, and it's like, well, your brother had cancer, and you have the same cancer, and you had to beat him, so you got a second cancer, right? You win.
Yeah, I won.
And it's the biggest miracle and blessing from God that you are as healthy as you are with all that your body has been through. And I know that a lot of that is through your faith, but sometimes I think this extra connection and unwillingness, or just you don't want to be apart, comes from that too, where you've had some scares. And
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I tell you, there is no bigger supporter of your pops than her, and I hope you feel the same way.
Of course. I do.
And I mean, this morning, last night, last week, something comes up, and how do we help each other through this? I mean, it's something that's got to happen. If you love the person that you're with, you're gonna help, and if a touch makes a difference in a relationship, you touch.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to also be willing to speak truth to your partner, and I think we do that.
what do you think you've done, each of you, separately, really well in your marriage?
Well, I was going to say golf, but
That's not true.
That's different.
Watching golf, you've done a great job watching it on TV.
I don't even know who won. I turned it off.
So I'm asking you what you think you've done well, what you wish you had done better or could still do better. So you can answer both in whichever.
Let me get back to you on that.
No, we don't have time.
Sage, I can't answer.
What I think for us,
Well, for you, because there are a lot of, and oh, by the way, I'm still watching your relationship evolve, and I take advice and cues and from you, because you in my mind are the bar, and for a successful, beautiful, imperfect marriage. And so if you share the good and the bad, I think that can be helpful.
yeah, I felt that I've always tried to forgive me for saying, give my family what they need. If it's guidance, if it's love, if it's discipline, and I bring it back again. I draw it to faith. Faith has got to be there in the middle of it. Things that I've done, I think kind of that. And let me tell you, I've not been perfect. This is not a Ozzie and Harriet, tiptoe through the tulips thing. But I've tried to give my wife and my children my best. And that's all I can do, is give them my best and hope that that's enough, because that's all I got. You're up.
What was the question?
Oh, Lord. Ruin the moment. No, I mean, however you want to answer it. Like, what do you feel that you're proud of and that you've done well in your marriage, and something that you know, gosh, if I could do that over, or, you know, you could have done better and still can maybe?
Her strength,
I,
her solidarity, her willingness, she never will give up on the family. Never. You know, she's so strong.
She's terrible at accepting compliments. You
I
watched.
quiver at her strength. It's just unbelievable, and I wish that I had more of this stick-to-itiveness and the strength that she has. Always.
Why do you frown when he says that?
well, because I don't, you know,
You don't like hearing the truth.
no, I don't see that. But I think as far as with Dad, I just wish sometimes, and I think a lot of people kind of do, that we're just a little more understanding. And I think when we were younger, we were just
Understanding of what?
of each other and when things happen and how we handle things. And I would have liked to have handled things more like Dad, because you know I go, and Dad's the, you know, okay, when I don't want to hear it, let's talk and let's, you know, dissect this. And I don't want to. I just want to blow my top. So I do wish, and still to this day, that I could be more like Dad. So we're done.
You only said a negative about yourself.
Well, what was the rest of the question?
Oh my gosh, the more important part is like, what are you proud of? And like, if you could advise me, I'm getting married again. Like, what would you say to me that like, and you know me as a person, obviously,
I truly
Mom.
just
Eggs Benedict.
Eggs Benedict.
not happening.
I truly think is just being understanding of your spouse in all different situations. And there are a lot of situations maybe that I didn't understand and what was really going on. And I probably didn't give Dad as much support as I could.
So you went negative again, and that's fine. What I'm going to say from like watching was that you made sure, and it doesn't matter if it's the husband or the wife, right? It doesn't matter who's working, who's not, or both.
Yes.
But you made sure that when Dad got home, you respected what he had been doing all day.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And you did your best with really good meals. And the house was clean and kept up. And it wasn't about being the submissive wife or anything. It was literally about, gosh, he's worked hard.
Yeah.
And I want to
always
make
wanted
sure
to
that
please
he,
him. Yeah.
that you want, yes, that he
he
felt
knew.
your attempt to,
Sure.
yeah. And I think it was a beautiful thing for me to witness. And, you know, as there's been so many hits on the traditional family over the last several years, oh my gosh, it is a partnership. It is a team.
For sure.
And you did a beautiful job of that. And certainly there were days where it's like, Chad, do you hear the garage door going up? Dad's home, shape it up. And all of a sudden, so she left some things for you when you would come home from work. But I really admire that. And
Thank you.
while working too, there were, I think the second half of my life at home before college was you working and balancing that, but still.
Well, we had a horse to feed.
Yes, I did have a horse, every little girl's dream, which the only reason we could afford that horse is because you went back to work in order to allow me to have that dream, which saved me in many ways as a really shy kid. But I just needed you to know that, like, I saw that. And it's what, you know, has made me want to be a nurturer as well. And
Oh, you are. You always have been.
you could do it and then still be a pistol. Like he's the colonel, but we know you're the general. Like, who's really in charge here?
No doubt.
Yeah. I ask people all the time about their their legacy. And I ask 25-year-olds this and 85-year-olds. I asked Billy D. Williams and I've asked Riley Gaines. You know, it's never too early to think about that. And so, you know, let's just say in 100 years from now, when great-great-great-grandkids are watching this, and that's the beauty of being able to do this, what is that legacy that you hope that they can still see and maybe even feel long after we are all gone?
Wow.
Wow.
That's heavy. I was asked one time about legacy, and I believe I responded, my legacy on this earth is my relationship with my wife and the children that we left behind. So what's my legacy? It's you.
Yeah, I think.
You are my legacy. You are our legacy. Chad, Courtney are our legacy. And it continues. It continues. And it continues with having the right frame of mind and the right conscience with which you think about life, and trying to impart that to the children that you're with, that you have. Just doing the right thing. It's so easy, Sage. You say it, I'll let you finish it up. Cadet prayer.
You can start.
Well, in the middle of the cadet prayer, there's a little phrase that goes, Lord, make me to choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong, and never to be content with a half-truth when the whole truth can be won. It's a great excerpt from the prayer, and I've said that I have tried to follow that. I haven't always been perfect, Lord knows, but I've tried. And the things that we have done, I think as a family, we try to choose the harder right with you, with your brothers. What's the right thing? It's easier for us to do this or do that, but this is what we need to do. And I think your mom represents that in the things that she has done with you guys all your lives.
Whenever she gets emotional, she's like, nope, subject change. I have been asked so many times through the years, my why. And I like asking that question of others too, and that's why I started doing this show a year ago, it feels like 100, because I like to know people's why. I think when we understand that, you can be more kind and more forgiving, knowing the reason behind people's everything. You guys are my why, period. Yes, I've got these 3 crazy kids. I think one's about to graduate from college. I hope that happens. I'm showing up. She better hear her name called. But besides them, you are it. And I could not be more grateful.
Thank you, honey.
The best upbringing ever. And thank you for putting up with me. I was the best kid, though. I was the easiest. And I am obviously the favorite.
Well, that's what
Right?
Chad says.
Well, you're the only girl.
There you go. You always say, you're my favorite daughter. The only one. But thank you for picking me up off the ground all those times. Thank you for watching me even when I was terrible on TV. And then you'd be like, Dad would say, yeah, great story about this. Mom would say, yeah, your blush was a little heavy today. You care about everything. You knew I needed help. Thank you for supporting me even when I did not believe in myself, and for kicking my butt when I needed it too. But most of all, just for being the guiding force for all of us. Your kids, your grandkids, your friends, your family, you've inspired so many. And I am just so thankful that you went and found that notepad and picked up the phone
and called, and that you both chose to have the strength throughout all this and continue to choose the harder right. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
sorry.
My little 11-month-old Sage.
Don't do that. That'll make me cry more. I love you, and
I love
thank you.
you too. More than you know.
Stop. Stop.
Good job, Sagey.